The hidden cost of being too nice. Most people do not lose respect because they are bad. They lose respect because they are too afraid to disappoint anyone. They say yes when their mind is asking for no. They apologize when they did nothing wrong. They explain simple choices as if they need permission to exist. They keep the peace outside while losing peace inside. This is not a lesson about becoming rude, cold, selfish, or arrogant. If strength turns you cruel, it is not strength. It is pain wearing armor. This is about the moment kindness stops being virtue and becomes self-betrayal. If your kindness makes you smaller, more anxious, more resentful, and easier to use, then it is no longer guided by wisdom. It is fear with polite manners. You know the moment. Someone asks for something. Your body reacts before your mind thinks. You imagine their disappointment. You imagine tension. You imagine being judged. And before reason speaks, fear answers for you. So you agree. Not because it is right, not because justice requires it. You agree because saying no feels more dangerous than betraying yourself. The Stoics would not call that virtue, they would call it surrendering the ruling mind. Marcus Aurelius did not measure character by how many people approved of him. He measured it by whether the soul remained loyal to reason. You can be kind and still have limits. You can be gentle and still be firm. You can care without surrendering. You can disappoint someone and still act with integrity. Respect does not grow from endless availability. It grows from repeated evidence that your kindness has a spine, and this begins with a truth most people avoid. Niceness and kindness are not the same thing. Nice is not always kindness. Nice is not always kindness. Most people were taught that avoiding conflict, softening every truth, agreeing quickly, and making themselves easy to handle means they are being good. But goodness is not the same as being easy to use. Kindness comes from strength. Niceness often comes from fear. Kindness asks, what is right here? Niceness asks, how do I keep everyone comfortable? Those two questions create two different lives. When you are kind, you help because help is wise. When you are too nice, you help because saying no feels unbearable. When you are kind, your yes has meaning because it is chosen. When you are too nice, your yes often comes from anxiety. When you are kind, you can be gentle and honest. When you are too nice, you hide honesty because you fear the reaction. This is how good people become trapped. They are not weak in heart. They do not want to hurt anyone. But somewhere along the way, they confused virtue with emotional obedience. They began to believe that being good means never disappointing anyone. But is it wisdom to say yes while resentment grows inside you? Is it justice to give to others while being unfair to yourself? Is it courage to hide the truth because someone might dislike it? Epictetus teaches in the Enchiridion, section 1, that some things are within our control and others are not. Your choices, actions, intentions, and character belong to you. Another person's approval does not fully belong to you. So when you build your peace on being liked, you place your soul in hands you cannot control. That is not kindness. That is slavery with a gentle voice. The problem is not that you are kind. The problem is that fear has been impersonating kindness. Remove fear from kindness, and what remains is clean, strong, and chosen. The approval trap. Approval becomes dangerous when it stops being pleasant and starts becoming necessary. There is nothing wrong with appreciating respect, praise, affection, or acceptance. You are human. The problem begins when approval becomes the condition for your peace. Because the moment approval becomes necessary, honesty becomes negotiable. You begin speaking with one eye on the truth and one eye on the reaction. You do not ask, is this right? You ask, will they still like me? You do not ask, does this align with my character? You ask, will this create tension? And slowly, without noticing, you stop living from principle and start living from prediction. This is the approval trap. It feels like being considerate. It feels like keeping the peace. But underneath, fear is making decisions before reason has spoken. You soften your truth. You laugh when you are uncomfortable. You explain more than necessary. You stay quiet when something inside you strongly disagrees. You apologize for taking space. Then one day, you realize something painful. You are accepted by others, but not fully inhabited by yourself. Epictetus says in the Enchiridion, section 13, that if you wish to improve, you must be willing to be thought foolish or ignorant by others. This is not about being careless with your reputation. It is about freedom. No one becomes wise while begging every room for permission to grow. When you stop being too nice, some people may say you changed. They may call your boundaries selfish, not because you became unjust, but because you stopped serving their expectations without question. So decide what kind of life you want. Do you want everyone to approve of the version of you that never says no? Or do you want your soul to stand upright even when someone disapproves? Approval alone cannot be your compass. If you follow it too closely, your identity becomes a mirror. Freedom begins when you stop worshipping reactions. Stop asking, how can I make them approve? Start asking, can I respect myself after this choice? Why people stop respecting? Endless availability. People do not always disrespect you because they hate you. Sometimes they disrespect you because you have trained them to believe your limits are not real. If you always answer immediately, people learn your attention can be interrupted at any time. If you always forgive without change, people learn your forgiveness requires no responsibility. If you always explain your boundaries, people learn your boundaries are open for debate. If you always return with full warmth after being treated carelessly, people learn that access to you has no cost. And what has no cost is often treated without care. This is not about playing games or becoming fake scarce. That is not Stoicism. The goal is to stop living as if your time, peace, and attention belong to whoever asks loudly enough. Respect is not demanded. It is trained through repeated evidence. People learn how to treat you by watching what you consistently allow. If disrespect still receives full access, disrespect has been rewarded. If guilt still changes your answer, guilt has been rewarded. If pressure still makes you surrender your judgment, pressure has been rewarded. This is where too much niceness becomes dangerous. It removes consequence while pretending to be virtue. Your no gives value to your yes. Your boundary gives dignity to your kindness. Your absence teaches people that your presence was never something to misuse. Marcus Aurelius reminds himself in Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 8, paragraph 48, that the mind can remain undisturbed when it refuses to give external things power over its inner condition. Apply that here. If every request, message, disappointed face, or emotional pressure moves you away from your center, then you are not being kind, you are being governed. Ask yourself, where have I made my access too cheap? Who receives my immediate attention without earning that priority? Who receives forgiveness without responsibility? Who receives my emotional labor while giving only pressure in return? These questions are not meant to make you harsh, they are meant to make you awake. The fear of being the bad person. Many people stay too nice because they are terrified of becoming the villain in someone else's story. They would rather betray themselves quietly than be called selfish out loud. They would rather stay uncomfortable than hear, "You changed." They would rather carry resentment in silence than let another person feel disappointed for one moment. This fear often sounds like morality. I do not want to hurt them. I do not want to be difficult. I do not want them to think I am a bad person. But ask yourself honestly, are you trying to be good, or are you trying to avoid being judged? A good person is guided by virtue. A frightened person is guided by reaction. A good person asks, what is just? A frightened person asks, how do I escape blame? Someone may call you selfish. That is an event. Someone may misunderstand your boundary. That is an event. Someone may turn your self-respect into an accusation. That is an event. Whether you accept their judgment as truth belongs to you. This does not mean you ignore correction. If you acted unjustly, correct yourself. If your words were harsh, refine them. A Stoic welcomes truth, even when truth wounds pride. But accountability is not the same as surrendering to every accusation. Some people will call you selfish because your obedience ended. Some will call you cold because your old warmth had no limits. Some will say you changed because the version of you they preferred was easier to use. Being disliked for having a boundary is not the same as being wrong. If someone benefited from your silence, your honesty may feel aggressive. If someone benefited from your availability, your distance may feel personal. If someone benefited from your guilt, your self-respect may feel like betrayal. Their discomfort does not automatically make your action unjust. The Stoic question is not, did this make them happy? The Stoic question is, was this wise, fair, courageous, and governed by reason? Stop trying to be innocent in everyone's imagination. Be just in your own conduct. Calm firmness, the respect people feel before you speak. Respect does not come from being louder. It does not come from intimidating people or proving that you are harder than they are. Often, that is fear trying to protect itself through aggression. Real respect begins when people sense that you are not easily moved away from yourself. This is calm firmness. It is the ability to remain warm without becoming weak, patient without becoming passive, respectful without becoming submissive, open without becoming available to every demand. It is the quiet authority of a person whose emotions are present, but not in command. People feel this before you explain anything. They feel it when you pause before answering. They feel it when you do not rush to fill silence with nervous words. They feel it when criticism does not make you collapse into defense. They feel it when pressure appears and your face does not become obedient to another person's mood. The most respected person in the room is often not the one who controls others. It is the one others cannot easily control. Marcus Aurelius says in Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 8, paragraph 47, that if something is right, do it. If it is not right, do not do it. A too nice person asks, how can I say this so they do not react badly? A grounded person asks, how can I say this truthfully, fairly, and without losing command of myself? Calm firmness says, I prefer peace, but I will not purchase it with self-betrayal. It says, I care about your feelings, but I will not let your feelings govern my judgment. It says, I can be kind without becoming obedient to your discomfort. Stoicism asks for something higher than approval and higher than pride. It asks for self-command. Self-command means you do not become cruel because you are tired. You do not become submissive because someone is upset. You choose the proper action because reason has examined the moment. The boundary that changes everything. The boundary that changes everything is not only learning to say no. Many people say no once, then reward the same behavior the next day. They say no with their mouth, but yes with their actions. They claim they want respect, but keep giving full access to the same behavior that disrespects their peace. The deeper boundary is this: stop giving emotional rewards to behavior that weakens you. If someone pressures you and you obey, pressure has been rewarded. If someone guilt trips you and you surrender, guilt has been rewarded. If someone disrespects your time and still receives your full attention, disrespect has been rewarded. People do not learn only from what you say. They learn from what you continue to allow. A boundary without behavioral change is only a request, and some people do not respect requests when they know nothing changes if they ignore them. This does not mean you punish people. Wisdom requires proportion. Justice requires fairness. But if a pattern keeps repeating and your response keeps rewarding it, then you are participating in your own erosion. Seneca warns On the Shortness of Life that people protect their property, but allow others to invade their time as if time were worthless. Your time is not the only thing being spent. Your patience is being spent. Your focus is being spent. Your nervous system is being spent. Your capacity to love without resentment is being spent. Boundaries protect your ability to remain good without becoming bitter. A person who never protects their energy does not become more loving. They become more reactive. They help with hidden anger. They listen while secretly wishing the person would stop. They say yes while storing resentment. Do not wait until your soul turns hard before you start protecting it. What you tolerate repeatedly becomes what others expect permanently. If you want different expectations, you must create different evidence. Say, less mean more. Too nice people often believe that if they explain enough, they will finally be understood. They think longer explanations will make their no feel softer. They think if they show every reason, every emotion, and every detail, no one will accuse them of being selfish or unfair. But the need to explain everything is often not clarity. It is anxiety trying to earn permission. You say, "I cannot do that," but fear rises, so you add 5 reasons, then 5 more. Then you begin defending your character. By the end, your boundary is buried under emotional negotiation. The other person learns that your no can be entered through conversation. This is why saying less can be an act of self-respect. Not because silence is superior to communication, not because you should become vague or passive, but because disciplined speech protects the mind from turning every decision into a trial. A calm sentence has weight when it comes from inner agreement. I cannot do that. That does not work for me. I understand, but my answer is no. I am not available for this conversation right now. I need to think before I respond. These sentences are not rude, they are clean. Epictetus advises restraint in speech in the Enchiridion, section 33. The lesson is not that words are bad. The lesson is that words should be governed. Speech should serve reason, not anxiety. Ask yourself before explaining, am I speaking because clarity is needed or because I fear their reaction? Not every discomfort is a command. Not every accusation deserves defense. Not every misunderstanding deserves correction. Not every silence needs rescue. A person who cannot tolerate being misunderstood will eventually be controlled by anyone willing to misunderstand them. So say the cleanest, truthful sentence. Then let it stand. Respect is built through consistency, not speeches. One strong boundary does not rebuild respect. One calm response does not rewrite your reputation. One moment of courage does not erase years of being too available, too apologetic, and too easy to pressure. This is where many people become discouraged. They finally say no. They finally stop over-explaining. They finally protect their time. Then they expect the world to adjust immediately. But people rarely adjust to your words first. They adjust to your patterns. If you spent years teaching others that pressure works, they may pressure you again. If guilt changed your answer before, they may use guilt again. If your boundaries disappeared when someone became upset, they may become upset and wait for the old version of you to return. Your old pattern trained them. Now your new pattern must retrain them. Epictetus teaches in Discourses of Epictetus, Book 2, Chapter 18, that habits are strengthened by repeated actions, and that the way to overcome a habit is to practice the opposite. If you practiced pleasing people for years, one boundary will feel unnatural. If you practiced saying yes from fear, one honest no will feel almost violent inside your body. That does not mean the new behavior is wrong. It means the old habit is fighting to survive. Character is formed when pressure returns, guilt rises, someone tests your limit, and you choose reason again. That second choice matters. Then the third, then the fourth. Self-respect is not a feeling you wait for. It is evidence you build. Every time you honor your boundary, you give your mind proof. Every time you pause before reacting, you give your nervous system proof. Every time you refuse to over-explain, you give your character proof. Just become consistent. Calmly, repeatedly, without drama. Let your behavior teach what your fear once failed to protect. Goodness, with a spine. Stopping being too nice does not mean becoming less good. It means becoming good in a way that no longer requires self-betrayal. This is the final correction. Many people hear "stop being too nice" and think they must become colder, sharper, more distant, more aggressive. But that is not strength. That is pain trying to protect itself with a harder face. The goal is not to care less. The goal is to care with reason. You can still help. You can still listen. You can still forgive. You can still show compassion. But now your kindness has boundaries. Your patience has dignity. Your forgiveness has discernment. Your silence has strength. Your yes has meaning because your no is real. That is goodness with a spine. Without a spine, goodness becomes easy to exploit. Without reason, compassion becomes exhaustion. Without courage, patience becomes fear. Without justice, generosity becomes unfair to yourself. Without self-command, kindness becomes whatever other people can pressure you into giving. The Stoics did not teach you to become harmless in the sense of being easy to use. They taught you to become harmless in the sense that your actions are not ruled by cruelty, resentment, impulse, or fear. You are not required to make your life smaller so others never feel uncomfortable. You are not required to say yes to prove your heart is good. You are not required to remain the old version of yourself because others knew how to benefit from that version. You cannot control whether people approve of your boundaries. You cannot control whether they respect you immediately. You cannot control whether they call your self-respect selfish. But you can control whether you keep abandoning your own judgment just to remain liked. If you must be disliked for doing what is wise, be disliked with a clean conscience. If you must be misunderstood for protecting your peace, be misunderstood without becoming unjust. If you must disappoint someone to remain honest, disappoint them without cruelty, drama, hatred, or surrendering the truth. Be kind, but let your kindness be chosen. Be patient, but let your patience have wisdom. Be forgiving, but let your forgiveness require truth. Be calm, but do not confuse calmness with submission. Stop being too nice, not because kindness is weak, but because kindness without self-respect eventually becomes permission for others to use you. Be good, but be good with a spine.